Most people choose oatmeal because it feels safe, especially for adults over 40 who are trying to protect their heart, manage cholesterol, and avoid blood sugar spikes. But here's the part most of us never hear. More than 60% of adults who eat oatmeal for breakfast still experience hidden glucose surges without realizing it. And the surprising thing is, it's not the oatmeal itself. It's one very common breakfast mistake that silently increases the spike by 25 to 40%, even when we use healthy oats. If you've been waking up feeling hungry again too quickly, getting mid-morning crashes, or feeling unusually tired after breakfast, this might be the reason. From what we often see in adults over 40, oatmeal is one of the most misunderstood healthy breakfasts. Many people believe all types of oats behave the same way in the body, but clinically, they don't. Different processing methods, different cooking styles, and different pairings can completely change how fast oatmeal turns into glucose. In fact, we routinely see patients who switch just one part of their morning oatmeal preparation, and suddenly their post-meal readings become far more stable. So if oatmeal has ever caused hunger, cravings, or inconsistent energy, it's usually not because the food is wrong, but because the method is.
Oatmeal contains a special type of soluble fiber called beta-glucan, which acts like a natural slow-release system for glucose.
When beta-glucan forms a thick gel, it slows digestion, keeps us full longer, and lowers the glucose surge. But here's what most people don't know. For adults over 40, our digestion tends to speed up certain starchy foods unless the fiber is fully activated. And depending on how we prepare oatmeal, beta-glucan can either build a slow-digesting gel, which is good, or break down too fast and lose its protective effect, which is not good. This explains why some people experience surprising spikes even when using whole-grain oatmeal. We're about to reveal the main mistake, but first let's clear a few myths that often mislead people. Myth number 1. Instant oatmeal is just as healthy, it's the same grain. Many adults over 40 choose instant oatmeal because it cooks fast and feels convenient. But the problem isn't the grain, it's how finely the grain has been broken down. When oats are processed into a very thin, almost powder-like form, they lose much of the thick, gel-like texture that beta-glucan normally forms. And once that viscosity drops, glucose moves into the bloodstream much faster. Myth number 2. Adding fruit on top makes it healthier. This is one of the most common habits we see. A bowl of oatmeal topped with banana slices, raisins, or sweetened dried fruit. While fruit itself is healthy, pairing oatmeal with fast-digesting fruits can unintentionally speed up the overall glucose response. The naturally quick sugars from bananas or raisins can override the slowing effect of beta-glucan, turning a supposedly gentle breakfast into a sharper spike. Myth number 3. Whole grain oats always mean a low sugar response. Seeing whole grain on the label makes us feel safe, but with oatmeal, the cooking method has just as much influence as the grain itself. Even rolled or steel-cut oats can create higher spikes if cooked quickly on high heat. When oats cook too fast, the structure of beta-glucan weakens, reducing the gel formation that normally slows digestion. Some studies suggest that when the beta-glucan structure is disrupted, the glucose response can climb by up to 40%.
Solution reveal. When oatmeal causes hidden sugar surges, it's rarely about the oat itself. The real issue is how the soluble fiber behaves once it's cooked. And for adults over 40, this becomes even more important because digestion naturally changes with age. The good news is that oatmeal can become one of the most stable, hunger-controlling breakfasts you can eat if we prepare it in a way that activates its natural slow-release system. Step number 1. The gel activation method. Most people think oatmeal either spikes their sugar or it doesn't, as if it's a fixed response. But what many adults over 40 don't realize is that the biggest influence is not the grain itself, but the viscosity of the soluble fiber inside it. When beta-glucan forms a thick gel, it slows digestion dramatically. When it doesn't, it behaves almost like a fast carb. This is why the gel activation method becomes the core of this solution. Instead of boiling oatmeal quickly or microwaving it on high heat, we encourage the opposite. Treat it gently. Soaking the oats first softens the grain without breaking its structure, and then a slow, low-heat simmer for 8 to 10 minutes allows the beta-glucan to fully hydrate. As that gel forms, the oatmeal becomes thicker, creamier, and noticeably heavier. And that texture isn't just culinary, it's metabolic. Step number 2. The protein-first microbite. Even with a slow-cooked bowl of oats, there's still a moment right at the beginning, the very first bite, when your body decides how it's going to respond. Most people start eating oatmeal immediately, giving their system a pure carbohydrate signal. For many adults over 40, that alone is enough to trigger the early spike. This is where the protein-first microbite changes everything. Instead of eating the oatmeal first, we take just 2 or 3 small spoonfuls of a protein source before the bowl. A few bites of Greek yogurt, a little cottage cheese, a small piece of tofu, or even a handful of nuts. The key is the cue. This first bite tells the digestive system that protein is coming in. And once that signal is received, the glucose response to carbs tends to slow down. Research shows that this tiny sequence shift can lower the early glucose peak by around 20 to 25%. It's one of those adjustments that feels almost too small to matter, yet it consistently works, especially for breakfast meals where carbs arrive quickly without much competition. Step number 3. Smart pairing, the fiber plus fat shield. Once the bowl is cooked and your metabolism is primed, the final piece is to add a pairing that supports the gel you've built. Many people instinctively reach for bananas, raisins, or sweetened toppings. But those choices can overpower the beta-glucan and push the curve upward again. Instead, we use a different approach. Create a gentle shield that slows digestion from the top down. Chia seeds, hemp seeds, ground flax, or a small spoon of almond butter are great examples. When mixed into warm oatmeal, they thicken the texture further and coat the carbs with a layer of fiber and healthy fats. This slows the rate at which the stomach releases the meal into the small intestine, which then slows how quickly glucose enters the bloodstream. Studies show that this combination can reduce post-meal surges by 18 to 22%. But what matters more is the lived experience. Many adults say they stay full longer, feel more grounded, and notice their focus remains steady through late morning, which is often when traditional oatmeal eaters start to fade. If you find this kind of guidance useful, feel free to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. Before we close the video, it helps to strengthen the main solution with a few gentle adjustments. These are not new rules, just small refinements that make the oatmeal method even more consistent for adults over 40. Number 1. The timing factor. Our glucose response naturally shifts throughout the day, and many adults over 40 find that oatmeal feels steadier when eaten on mornings after good sleep and low stress. But on days when we wake up tense, tired, or sleep-deprived, the body becomes more reactive to carbs. Simply moving oatmeal slightly later, late morning or early lunch, can create a noticeably smoother response without changing the recipe at all. Number 2. Senior friend adjustments. Some viewers want oatmeal softness without the spikes, and the gel activation method fits perfectly because it creates a smoother texture without breaking the fiber structure. If extra staying power is needed, a spoonful of Greek yogurt on the side or a small dash of cinnamon can make the bowl feel more grounding and reduce mid-morning hunger, offering comfort without disrupting glucose control. Number 3. A short case scenario. We often hear stories from adults who abandon oatmeal because it spiked them, only to discover that the issue wasn't the food, it was the method. One viewer who switched from instant microwaved oats with sweetened toppings to gel-activated oats with a protein-first microbite and a fiber-fat pairing described their mornings as finally stable again, showing how a small shift in preparation can completely change the experience. As we wrap up, it's important to remember that oatmeal itself was never the real problem. With the simple adjustments we covered today, we can turn the same bowl into a steady, reliable breakfast that supports adults over 40 with calmer energy and better morning control. Have you tried the gel activation method yet? Tell us in the comments what you've noticed. We'll see you in the next video.